Ian, for sharing. And at this point, we're going to turn it back over to our panelists. We have a few questions that have come in. Certainly, if there are more questions out there, feel free to give those to us, and we will address them. Again, thank you, Bob, John, and Ian, for all of your insight. So the first question came in, and it was during Bob's portion, and it says, are we looking at the same spend of supportive companies by straight or heterosexual communities?
I had on mute. Daniel, can you say that again? I'm sorry, ask the question again.
I can absolutely say it again. So the question came in during your portion, Bob, and the question is, are we looking at the same spend of supportive companies by the heterosexual community?
There is data on that. It's not as clear and it's not as directional, but I would call it the PFLAG effect, where we're just finding over and over again that there are those people, and you know them in your own orbits, your family, your colleagues, your friends, and they are distinctly influenced by the same messaging. And I think that's what tells us the unwritten story yet of the gay market and the influence of the market is that it is now transformed the way millions of Americans see gay people as part of the fabric of the nation, and that when companies and brands are inclusive, it's actually almost a dog whistle to people who are very supportive to pay attention. And you see it time and time again. It has come across in terms of public attitudes on marriage. It's come across in some voting attitudes. It has changed the way that we imagine the universe is of what is gay receptive or gay friendly. It means people who are open-minded, inclusive, embracing, accepting, welcoming, and that kind of language I think has morphed into certainly millennials and many others.
Thank you, Bob. The next question that came in says, we are working with our major American retail partners to customize and localize product assortments to reflect the LGBT consumers who shop in specific stores. Finding targeted data to help identify the right stores has been difficult. What resources are available for more finite targeting information?
I would say, this is Bob, I would say it's going to be hard to do the targeting on LGBT identified consumers because that kind of, very precise micro-targeting in terms of shopping habits may not exist in data sets. But what I would use are proxies for gay people. And I would look, again, and I hate to overemphasize it, but I'd look also at millennial data you can find in terms of their shopping interests because I think you're going to have an overlay. Also, I would suggest if there is any category of younger men, for example, single younger men, single straight men and single gay men are not the same, but oftentimes they over-index in things like electronics, entertainment, dining. So you may look for some data sets that do that and use them as proxies. When Subaru did its campaign back years and years ago, and they started with Martina as a spokesperson, they had no data on lesbian purchasing and marketing data. They used the proxy of independent, single, outdoorsy, athletic women, and I think they found that those attributes were synchronous or at least mirrored many of the interests of lesbians and bisexual women. So I think if you can look at singularly interesting attitudes and attributes that mirror some of the needs or tastes of gay people, I think you'll be able to figure out some of those targeting.
Great, thank you.
Hi,
next question. Go ahead.
I just wanted to mention there is some limited data available on the United States Census Bureau, census.gov. If you Google U.S. Census and same-sex, you go HHES/. There's a data section in there, and they do have data useful in helping to try and answer that question.
And we've used that data from the Wells Fargo standpoint, just trying to get down even to the zip code level.
You mean the zip code for where people live? So the area
exactly.
They live in. Right. That is a very useful tool, and you can get fairly granular. It doesn't say what they do in terms of purchasing, but it says where they live geographically.
Great. John, the next question came in regarding Wells Fargo. The question is, how did Wells get the support from the highest levels in the organization? And do you have any tips for others to pursue so?
Well, that's a great question, actually. And I do think, it's a hard one to answer because I think it's a very long-term process. I think Ian said in his presentation that building support in the community is a long-term process. Well, building support internally is also a long-term process, and I think there are a lot of steps, and there's a lot of education that has to happen, and I think that educational part is key. One of the I think one of the key things that happened in our case was getting some of our executive leaders to out and equal last year. John, the fact that John Stumpf spoke was amazing from an external standpoint, but it was also amazing from an internal standpoint because it really raised the profile of LGBT issues within the company and made things possible, like some of the support for this particular creative and things like signing on to the amicus brief, for example. So it really is a process of educating about the business opportunity, but also educating around the issues that are important to the community. So I think starting with figuring out the right path to educating kind of the high level executives within the organization is probably the first way to go about that.
Thank you so much, John. With that, I'd like to give our panelists an opportunity to make closing comments. And Bob, why don't we go ahead and start with you?
Well, I just simply be very brief. Thank everybody, and I hope I get to see many of you, or most of you, in Dallas, because that cross section of conversations and learnings is invaluable. And I have a feeling, and I'm looking forward. John and I are going to do another panel there, but there are a number of opportunities, I think, to exchange questions, ideas, and suggestions, and look forward to that very much.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, just from my perspective, thank you very much for the opportunity. Again, thanks everyone for attending, and I look forward to seeing you in Dallas. This is something that I think is very important. I think how we market, how we advertise our brands, and how we include LGBT imagery in those efforts really has power. It has a lot of power, and that's been talked about for many years. But I think we're really seeing finally that LGBT inclusion in total market advertising is happening, and the sky's not falling, and companies are actually seeing some very positive results from it. So I would say let's just keep up the good work.
Thank you. Ian?
Oh, excellent. I can only champion those remarks and thank everyone for their time. I will also be in Dallas and do look forward to connecting with as many of our participants today as can be. If I don't spot you first, come up and say hello. Also, if you're interested in global data, Out now has over 24 countries worth of LGBT market-related data, which you're very welcome to contact us for in order to access. Thank you very much to everyone. And thank you, Daniel.
Yeah, thank you to all of our panelists for lending both your time and your insights today. I hope that everyone on call was able to take something away from this, and I want to thank everyone on the session for dialing in and taking the time out of